Welcome to this podcast. I'm your host, Zach Schwartz, and this is the, medium episode of our, if I were better at marketing, I would have termed this, preview a couple weeks here. We had Luke Langle on last week to discuss the weird and unpredictable college football fall season, and today I am joined by the lovely, esteemed JJ Conklin to discuss the NFL season. JJ, how you doing?
I'm pretty good. I'm out here in Cincinnati still. Coronavirus is not taking too much of a toll on me.
That's good. It's good. I know you're out co-oping and stuff, so not with the university, correct, right now? I know you said you're near campus, though.
I'm working and not even going near campus, frankly. But my newly fiance, is headed on to campus for her job sometimes, so we're staying safe.
I was going to say, I meant to ask you pre-show if we could talk about this. I was going to say congratulations publicly with the millions of people this podcast reaches. Congratulations on your engagement. I can't say that it shocked me because you guys have been together for so long, and obviously, hanging out with you guys. You guys are a great couple, and I mean, it's fantastic. I'm super excited for you guys. That's great.
Well, thank you very much. And we're been working on wedding planning, and I'm working on figure out my bridal party and whatnot. And I just wanted to take this opportunity, Zach, to ask you to be my groomsman.
I'm stunned. This is one of the best podcast moments we've had, just live. You sprung this on me, didn't you? Of course I accept, JJ.
I did. I could have asked you pre-show, but I wanted to catch it live on air.
Of course I accept. Oh my God, that's such an honor. Thank you. I mean, I know we've known each other for a while, and I think the funny thing about us is that, we graduated together, we were at the top of our class, that type of thing, separate sports, but always stayed, relatively in the same classes. And I think we've gotten so much closer since I moved across the country, which is interesting. But I mean, it's been great, and I am honored. Of course, I accept. Just shoot me the dates, and of course I know you're planning, and I will be sure to be the liveliest one, that groomsman.
Yeah, you might have some competition, but I'm glad you accepted. Thank you.
So yes, wow. So I guess you could say that was the real business before we talk about the NFL season, I suppose, which seems like a lot lesser of a deal now after that. That's for sure, man.
I guess that's what we're here for, the NFL. So we'll work on that.
We can have the wedding podcast later on as we get closer. Once you know more about that.
Well, you got it.
So I feel a lot more confident about the NFL than college football, just in general, because I think, I don't know, I didn't hear a lot of feedback about last week, but I know you listened. I was pretty pessimistic just about finishing a full season and such. But I think, the NFL, the ability to collectively bargain, these players are being paid, they're being fairly compensated for their work. I feel like there's going to be a bigger emphasis on leeway throughout the season. I don't think it'll definitely be a weird season, obviously. I'm not saying go out there and go to Las Vegas and do all the things and do all the normal stuff per se, but it's definitely going to be a weird year. But I think now, obviously we're recording this Wednesday night. The season starts tomorrow with Houston against Kansas City, and now I've allowed myself to be excited because, the calendar turned to September, and I was kind of like, still don't feel like it's going to happen, but I think now it is, obviously, and here we are.
Oh, yeah, I agree. I think the big thing is money. NFL teams have the money to do daily or every other day COVID testing, and for a lot of these schools, the University of Cincinnati is operating on a deficit for their athletic budget, and they have been for a while. And attending here, I've seen plenty of articles and disgruntled students about that. So, they're not going to be able to invest all the money that NFL teams are into COVID testing. So I agree. I'm worrisome about the college season still, but I have faith that the NFL season will play full regular season, full playoffs for a mostly unaltered schedule. Hopefully, if there's any outbreaks or something that happens before the bye week, and then maybe certain teams will be able to supplement the bye week with a game or switch up schedule. I guess we would hope that doesn't happen, but I think that would be best worst case scenario sort of thing, is try and fit in games during the bye week like baseball with the doubleheaders.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess baseball is, I know you pay more attention to baseball than I do. Baseball is the one you do not want to emulate after their early season struggles, but they seem to have gotten a bit of a grip now recently. So let's hope we don't have that type of issue at the beginning of the season here for football.
Baseball was bad at the beginning of the season. As an Indians fan, I think they had like one rain delay, and they played the doubleheader the next day, but their schedule has been relatively unaltered. But living in Cincinnati, I follow the Reds now too, and the beginning of their season was kind of a shit show with the other teams. They were healthy. Some of the other teams and what they were doing messed them all up. So I think the NFL would do better. They've had like one positive test in the last round of testing thousands of players and personnel. So I think that they've done a good job of holding themselves accountable, holding each other accountable, that sort of thing. So I have faith in this season.
Yeah, for sure. I do too. I mean, I think we all need some football here in America as well, with what has happened and what will transpire throughout the fall. I am sure with the election coming up, but that's not today's topic. We are going to go division by division. We're going to hit all 32 teams, so nobody's upset. If we only say one sentence about Jacksonville, so be it, Jaguars fans. It's not our fault you traded away all your star players this year. And then we're going to we'll do some playoff predictions here with the new 14-team format, recently expanded, and we'll get some Super Bowl picks and gets to some listener questions as well. We got through my Instagram yesterday. JJ, are you ready?
Oh, I am ready to talk about football.
Yeah, I'm still on the groomsman thing, but I mean, I'm just trying to plow through here without thinking about it too much. That's crazy. Where would you like to begin, my friend?
I don't know. Let's just start off kind of AFC East. We'll work our way through the AFC alphabetically, and then work our way through the NFC.
There we go. Simple man. I like it. Okay, so this is a very divided division in the sense that Buffalo, New England look to be competing for the division. Of course, New England without Tom Brady, signing Cam Newton to replace him. I don't know how many division titles they've won in the last 12 years. It's just most of them. Keep that in mind. And Miami and the New York Jets down below them, hoping to maybe surprise some in what I think personally is kind of a weak division, AFC East, and also just conference overall. What are your initial impressions with this division?
Well, I think that the Patriots are going to struggle without Tom Brady, even though that they still have Bill Belichick and they've still got a team together. I just don't think they're going to see the same Patriots team, even though Tom Brady's one part. I just don't think that they're going to see the same team without him. A couple of the guys that they had walk, let go, traded, whatever. But I still think the Patriots are going to win the division. It's just not going to be the same as they've done the past umpteen years with Tom Brady. It's not going to be as definitive, but I don't think Josh Allen and the Bills are going to give them all the run for their money.
Yeah, so looking right now, I looked at this yesterday because this is initially scheduled for yesterday, and I had a scheduling conflict. Buffalo is favored to win the division slightly at plus 110, New England plus 145. Then you have Miami and the Jets, basically unplayable. Don't do that, people. Don't do the long shot. So, I mean, and you mentioned him for me in picking this division. I'm going to go with Buffalo here. But just because the roster is so loaded. But you mentioned the one guy that kills me with this division is Josh Allen. Because, and people have written, a lot smarter people that do this for full-time living have talked about Josh Allen at length, and still no one knows what to actually think of Josh Allen, you know? He's got that rocket arm that got him drafted out of Wyoming. He is not accurate. And some people point to, and I think I'm one of them, will point to Stephon Diggs coming over from the trade and think, well, maybe this will be better. But if he's still missing wide receivers by 10 feet, it doesn't matter. Their defense is so loaded, though. I just look at their defense and I'm like, they're so loaded. Tre'Davious White just signed a new deal. Micah Hyde in the safety position. Trayvon Edwards at linebacker. I mean, they are loaded. And personally, I like Cam Newton. I think they're going to do pretty well. Spoiler, have the Patriots in the playoffs as a wild card, and I think I actually had them matched up with Buffalo and have them beating Buffalo because I like Belichick in one-off games here. But Cam, the injuries scare me.
I like Cam.
I do Cam too. I do too, but the injuries scare me.
He's Superman. What do you mean?
I mean, I just like the last 2 years in Carolina. No, I think he gets. Well, I think a lot of people questioning like if he's going to get above like 6 wins. If he's healthy, this is going to be a 10-win team. That's easy. I mean, Cam is that level of player, and let's not forget that. I mean, I know the NFL moves on very quickly, but let's not forget how great he was at his peak in 2015 and such like that. If he's 2/3 of that player, the Patriots do just fine with Bill Belichick.
Zach, how many injuries did Tom Brady sustain at New England?
He had the one big one. I'm trying to remember, right? 2010, 11, something like that?
Yeah, a decade ago. Not very many injuries. I think Bill Belichick is going to protect his golden goose QB1, and I think Cam will stay healthy, and they'll do all right. I don't think they have all the receivers to throw to that they did a blue moon ago, but I think they're going to be all right.
Do you think though that since Cam doesn't kiss his kids, do you think he on the lips does he get the same powers?
He's a little more athletic than Tom Brady naturally, so I think he'll get the same. Yeah,
that joke never fails. That joke never fails with NFL people.
The kissing the kids and modeling the shoes, right?
Yeah, and just I guess the TB12 overall lifestyle at this point now as well. It's kind of it's a joke. We'll get to the Bucs later. I'm not super high. I mean, I'm decently high on them, but I don't know if they should have the odds that they have. I have the Dolphins in third. Somehow the Dolphins win projection for Vegas is 6. Under the Jets, it's 6.5. This makes no sense to me. Can you explain that, or are you higher on the Dolphins than the Jets, like me?
I am not very hot on either the Dolphins or the Jets, but I think I have the Dolphins rated higher than the Jets personally. I think Tua is going to take over for Ryan Fitzpatrick after maybe a month. You know, they've got a crap offensive line. Ryan Fitzpatrick isn't going to perform well, going to throw interceptions, get sacked, whatever. And I think that they're going to give Tua a shot, whether that's one game and he stars, or whether Ryan Fitzpatrick gets injured and they need Tua to start the rest of the season. I think Tua is going to get in there. He's going to do well, but they're not going to be very good. But I think the Jets are going to be worse. Sam Darnold, I don't know, is he going to get mono? Is he going to get COVID? Like, I don't know what his deal is going to be this year, but I've never been very high on Sam Darnold. I know he improved last year, but I don't think he's going to be leaps and bounds better. I hope that Le'Veon Bell does well for the Jets after holding out and whatever his issue was a couple years ago. But I just don't think the Jets are going to be able to put it all together this year.
Everything with the Jets screams stay away to me. Adam Gase has been so weird as coach. He has a feud with Bell, if I'm correct, recently. You know, they've been at odds with each other, if I'm not mistaken, I believe I saw.
I have not seen that, but they're the Jets, so I haven't exactly read every article about them.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to say like the Dolphins, the number 6. I would not go over that for their wins. Don't get me wrong. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that the Dolphins, like I think the Dolphins are probably a 5-win team, and the Jets are like a 3-win team. And so that Jets 6.5. Once again, I'm not saying go to over-unders and do this type of thing because, you know, as we talked about amongst ourselves, like, we just don't know how long the season could last, you know, whatever. There's so many unpredictable variables here with cancellations and stuff. I don't think, especially for the overs, obviously, don't think the bets are worth it.
I feel like it's super safe to just go under on every single bet in case the season gets screwed and they cancel it. But I think they'll call it no action or whatever and give you your money back anyways.
Yeah. And like, so I like Sam Darnold as a quarterback, but I don't know. I just haven't seen a lot from him. And the Jets really, the surrounding talent is not there. Mm-hmm. And their strength was on the defensive side of the ball, and then their stud linebacker C.J. Mosley opted out of the season, so they don't even have him either. So I obviously trade Jamal Adams. The Jets are in for a long rebuild, and I just don't think this is the year that they're going to pose any sort of threat. I could see Miami knocking off Buffalo once or twice, you know, or not once or twice, obviously, but once. I could see Miami being competitive in games late against bigger teams for sure, and I also think they're much better coached under Brian Flores as well. So I mean. But I think this is Buffalo, New England's division, and I mean, it's a 50-50 call. You can split it either way, as we are.
Yeah. Yes, we are.
So, yeah, that's the AFC East. More of the same, basically, up there. Mm-hmm. Your team is in this next division, the AFC North.
Oh, yeah.
Do we want to start with the Cleveland Browns, or do we want to start with the favorites, the Baltimore Ravens? Because they are they're odds-on favorites, over 50%, based on Vegas, just to take the division.
Yeah, we can start with the Ravens. They were good last year. I don't blame the odds makers and the bettors for holding them in high regard.
The Ravens are going to take a step back this year.
Yeah, and I mean, Lamar Jackson will struggle to take a step forward for sure after that tremendous leap that he made.
Exactly. I was going to say, you're a smart guy.
Where else is he going to go?
Yeah, you're a smart guy. You get it. Like, it's hard to go forward from 14-2 and a league MVP in your second season. So when people, if you were to put that on Twitter, be like, the Ravens are taking a step back this year, be like, oh my gosh, what an idiot. It's like, well, no, literally, if they go 12-4 and win the division, it's a step back. It's just how it is. I still think they'll win the division. I think they're very talented. They lose Marshall Yanda on their offensive line due to retirement, but they still have the majority of their starters back. They cut Earl Thomas after he punched Jimmy Smith in the face, it was Chuck Clark, sorry. But they cut him is the point. They disciplined him or anything like that. So they obviously feel like they're fine. Their secondary, and I looked at their secondary, they're going to be fine. So I still think they take the division. The biggest question to me in this division is, will there be 2 playoff teams or 3? And I, of this moment, am still not that sure.
I think there's going to be 3. I'm not too hot on the Steelers, but I think they'll be good enough to get a wild card spot. I think the Ravens are definitely going to be good enough to earn a wild card spot after the Browns win the division. I thought they were going to win the division last year, and they really let me down. But last year was the first season in which they beat every single team in the division at least once. So that was a step forward for them. Maybe they'll work on sweeping a couple teams this year. But I don't know. The Browns added Austin Hooper, tight end, and hopefully hopefully Odell Beckham Jr. isn't going to be injured all season. Baker Mayfield has no option other than be fantastic or get fired, because he's got all the weapons in the world with Jarvis Landry, Odell Beckham Jr., Austin Hooper, Kareem Hunt, Nick Chubb. He's got a much improved offensive line with JJ Conklin and our first-round pick for our left tackle. So he doesn't have any more excuses. And our defense took a blow with our Grant Delpit tearing his Achilles in training camp, which sucks. But I think the Browns are still going to be a force to be reckoned with. Very excited for the season. But like I said, I was excited for last season, and I'll talk about it with the Bucs. I think the Bucs are similar to the Browns. They added a bunch of talent. They're overhyped. They're not going to live up to the expectations. So I really hope the Browns live up to the expectations. I talked to you about this earlier. I put money on them to go to the playoffs and have over 8.5 wins. So I'm putting my money where my mouth is. I guess I'm not putting my money on them winning the division, but that's my forecast.
Yeah, and I will say, outside of any of my independent assessment of the Browns, you're right on the fact that the hype comes a year too early, right? And obviously with the Browns, most teams would have kept their head coach after last season with the first year of Freddie Kitchens. But the Browns got rid of him, and I think that was part of the problem. A lot of these coordinators sometimes don't make great coaches. And we're going to talk about my Lions later on in this podcast. I think Matt Patricia is one of them. If you look at the Lions the past couple of years, after Jim Caldwell won 9 games in his final season, and now we've won 9 in 2 years with Matt Patricia. So that's all. The same team. That's all I'm saying. So I agree with you with that sense. I am still on the Baker Mayfield train. I still love his energy. Even back from the Oklahoma days, I've always been Baker Mayfield. Love that guy. I love that the Browns took him first overall. I'm still on him for the season, but this is, as you said, the make or break year for him. If he does not deliver this year, with a more experienced coach, obviously Kevin Stefanski, running the Vikings offense for the past couple of years, and they're shifting their scheme quite a bit and their personnel. Njoku, is that how you pronounce his name? The tight end.
Can't say for sure. I pronounce it Njoku in my head, but
okay. Well,
I'm glad he stayed because I don't know if that's what you're touching on. Is he requested a trade, and then I guess the GM, the head coach, whoever talked him into staying because Kevin Stefanski used the 2 tight end set more than any other offensive coordinator when he was with the Vikings. So I think that's going to be good for Baker Mayfield. The play action with 2 running backs is going to be good for Baker Mayfield. So having a coach that can actually scheme and work to the strengths of his quarterback and his offense will be good. Because Baker Mayfield, how many quarterbacks do you know that have gone through 4 head coaches in 3 years? So, he's got excuses, but this year is where the excuses run out.
Yeah, Josh Rosen has, just so you know. No, you're exactly right, though. You made the point for me that I was going to make about that. It's going to be a different offense with 2 tight end sets. Because if you look at the wide receiver 3 for the Browns, it is currently Rashard Higgins. So I don't think they'll be doing trips too much, but they will be doing 2 tight end sets with Odell and Jarvis Landry, and especially with the reinforcements at the tackles position. I think the Browns will make the playoffs. I agree with you. I don't think they'll win the division. I'm not going to go that far, but I do think this is actually the year that we see the hype from last year come through.
I think Rashard Higgins and Baker Mayfield have good chemistry, so I wouldn't be surprised if he got hit up quite a few times, but I think Jarvis Landry and Odell hopefully take most of the catches.
That is intel only a Cleveland Brown fan could tell you. You're welcome, Florida listeners there. We got asked on the Instagram about breakout players for this year. A lot of people know Myles Garrett's name, but I feel like this is the year he could push into JJ Watt territory and win a Defensive Player of the Year because he is that good. He's insane. And, of course, he made headlines for the whole thing with Mason Rudolph last year. I'm not going to touch on that, but I'm just saying I think that might motivate him. And as you shared today on your Twitter, I believe, about an article with Myles Garrett as well, it seems like he's really focused for the season.
Oh, yeah. I think Myles Garrett and Baker Mayfield had a similar sort of offseason where they understand that they're in a big year in their career, maybe a make-or-break year for both of them. And they kind of dialed in both mentally and physically in the offseason on their personal goals, their team goals, things of that nature. So I think honestly, Baker Mayfield and Myles Garrett, breakout player of the year potentially. But I like the Myles Garrett pick. And as a Browns backer, I'm going to go with Baker Mayfield as the breakout player of the year because he has so many weapons at his disposal. But I think that as a Browns fan, Myles Garrett has been at JJ Watt level now for a while. He was candidate for Defensive Player of the Year last year before he was suspended indefinitely. But I hope you're right, Zach.
There we go. I'll have to give another breakout player of the year then as we go on. I have a couple. I'm just running through them for these teams.
And while we're in the AFC North, Joe Burrow, he's older than Lamar Jackson, which I find hilarious because he was like a grad transfer or whatever to LSU. He won the Heisman when he was older than the NFL MVP, Lamar Jackson.
Yep.
And I think he's going to do all right for the Bengals. I don't think he's going to break any records like Baker Mayfield did his rookie year for touchdowns passing. But I think you'll have a good year. The Bengals just don't have enough pieces to work together with Joe Burrow to be competitive in the AFC North.
Yeah, AJ Green is a weird one because I felt like he was 40 years old, but he's not. He's just been injured for a while.
Right?
Yeah, that was weird in the research that came up. I was like, whoa, I thought he was way, way older. But I guess if he gets the form, it could be decent. I think the Bengals will be frisky. I mean, they have some pieces in place. I don't think they'll be challenged for the playoffs or anything. But Joe Burrow was named a captain today, I did see. So good for Burrow. He's putting that age to use in the Bengals locker room.
Yeah, he is. I listen to ESPN Cincinnati on the way to work sometimes. So they're all saying that all the players are healthy and under contract, and they're not holding out, and they're gelling together. So they look good. They've got the eye test down in training camp. We'll see if they can. They've got the Browns week 2, so I'm hoping to be able to walk into work chest out, head high after the Browns beat the Bengals. But we'll see. I think they're going to be decent, just not competitive enough.
Steelers team too much because I think it's pretty obvious how great their defense is. I think even a casual fan can figure that one out. Do we have to address that? We have to have a conversation about Ben Roethlisberger because Big Ben, in the last couple of years has been fantastic. He's been throwing deep, living it up back there and being very durable as well. Last year, he missed nearly the whole season. He's now 38 years old, coming off a major injury. At one point in November, he looked like he was as big as a defensive tackle. And then quarantine happened. I don't know if you remember the picture I'm referring to, but I remember seeing the locker. I was like, oh my God. I am not. So a lot of teams are a lot of people are projecting the Steelers to be, Super Bowl contenders, stuff like that. I am down on them because I am not sure what we're getting for Ben Roethlisberger this year. I am not. I mean, I understand he's a veteran, and a lot of times with COVID, obviously, no training camp, no preseason games, the continuity will be rewarded. I'm just not sold on Big Ben returning to full health or returning to the peak of his powers at the age of 38 and being a larger quarterback as well that we're used to. And because of that, I don't know what to do with the Steelers. Right now, I think I have them right outside the playoffs looking in. I wouldn't be surprised if they won 10 games, though, on the back of that defense and snuck in there as a 6 seed and then won their wild card weekend against, the AFC South winner or something like that. That would not shock me at all. But I don't know. I need you to make a harder determination on Pittsburgh and Ben Roethlisberger as well here.
So I think Mike Tomlin is underrated as a coach. We always talk about Bill Belichick and the consistency of the Patriots in the last 2 decades, but Mike Tomlin has done a fantastic job year in and year out for the Steelers. And I hate saying this, but the Steelers have been consistently good for a long time. I haven't known any other Pittsburgh quarterback other than Ben Roethlisberger and, of course, Mason Rudolph. But I haven't known any other real – yeah, it doesn't count. I haven't known any other real starter than Ben Roethlisberger. So he's not a Tom Brady and that he's going to last forever at such a high level of performance. But I'm kind of thinking like a Matthew Stafford season, in where he's not NFL MVP caliber, but he's good enough. And I think this will probably be his last good enough season. And, I think I might have said that last season as well. But then he got injured, so that didn't count. That was kind of like a redshirt season for him. I think this will be his last. He's on the downswing. Obviously, he's old, but I think he'll play good enough.
I think you're underselling Matt Stafford there a little bit. Kind of hurt my feelings.
Yeah. Well, how many playoff games have the Lions won, Zach?
Look, man. It's Detroit. What can you say? When you mismanage Barry Sanders and Calvin Johnson, 2 generational talents. That's just the luck of the city.
Yeah, I feel it.
Okay, so you said, though, that you had 3 playoff teams, so you're still picking Pittsburgh to make the playoffs, though?
Yes.
Okay, cool. We for anybody listening, we will recap the playoff seeds. I have mine in order, at least, so we will do that later on because I know it gets kind of hectic going division by division. All right, we're gonna.
I'm writing them down as I make them so that I don't forget.
Perfect.
Because I feel like I could go back through and think, wait, I said this earlier in the podcast, but then I changed my mind when we started talking about playoff teams. So I'm making sure we have consistency here. Don't worry, y'all.
Okay. All right, this is the division we're going to spend the least time on the podcast. All right.
Sounds good.
AFC South. You got Tennessee 8.5, Indianapolis 8.5, Houston 7.5. Jacksonville 5, which is ridiculously high on first look. However, they play in the AFC South, so I actually think it's probably a good number. There was a question about the number 1 draft pick from Instagram. My first thought is Jacksonville. However, they play in the worst division in the league, so it's not going to be Jacksonville. They're going to win too many games to get that pick. So
the worst team does not necessarily mean the first pick in the draft.
Agree with that. So can we start with Houston? Because I had Deshaun Watson as my fantasy quarterback, and he did a lot of good things for me. Deshaun Watson could carry this team to 9 wins and win the division, because I think it's going to take 9 wins to win it, and make the playoffs. He could do that. I don't think he will, though. I think he's been hampered too often by the coach GM Bill O'Brien. And we already did an emergency podcast discussing the DeAndre Hopkins trade. So if you want to go back and look at that, you can. I believe that was in April or February or so, around there. So I don't want to spend too much time talking about that. But like, I was looking through Houston's whole roster. I'm like, I don't see it. I don't see a playoff team.
I mean, there's got to be a playoff team, right, out of this division. And I think Houston is the safe bet for it. But, I mean, when you have Deshaun Watson at quarterback, would you classify him as elite?
Yeah, he's top 5.
Yeah. And when you've got JJ Watt on defense, he's definitely elite. I mean, I think you've always got a chance, right? When you've got big names on either side of the ball, you've got a chance. And I think they're going to be Steeler-esque in that they're good enough, but they're not great. And I think the Steelers will probably be better than the Texans. I'm not sure. Do they play this year? Will we have a chance to test that theory?
Let me see. Let me
check
look
the schedule real quick. I don't think so.
Week 3.
Yes.
Houston
yes,
at
if I
Pittsburgh.
Just use my eyes. So we'll have a chance to test that theory in less than 3 weeks, but I think they'll be all right.
Yeah, I mean, for the 3 games JJ Watt will play this year, yeah, they'll look good. Yeah, I don't know. I think so. You say stability. I pick a Tennessee to win the division. They just feel Patriots-esque to me. Of course, Ryan Tannehill has his own problems with injuries as well. But at the end of the day, they can just pound it to Derrick Henry. And I literally think that's what's... And they have a very solid defense as well. Of course, they just got Jadeveon Clowney on that end with Mike Vrabel there as coach. So I'm going to take Tennessee. And I actually think there's going to be 2 playoff teams for this division because the division is so mediocre. I just feel like we're going to get 2 9-7 people. And then you're going to have, somebody like a Pittsburgh at 8-8 just because they had to play Baltimore and Cleveland twice, and Cincinnati is much better than Jacksonville as well. So just purely on schedule, I will also take the Phillip Rivers-led Colts, even though I don't feel good about it, because I'm still not really sure if the Chargers' struggles were because of Phillip Rivers or just their bad luck moving to L.A. But we're just going to run with it. The Colts are going to make the playoffs too.
So you're saying no Texans, but Jacksonville not Jacksonville. Oh well, the Titans and the Colts.
Yep. This division could go any of 6 ways. Any 3 ways, I should say. Sorry, but I just get a bad feeling about Houston. And honestly, they play tomorrow against Kansas City, and I feel like they could get beat by 20, even though Deshaun Watson's awesome. So that's the thing. I'm betting against Watson here, not literally, but for the purposes of being right on this show. Which could kill me because, as we've seen with someone like Russell Wilson, you never bet against a top 5 quarterback. But I think the team and the infrastructure there, like the Texans' defense has been decimated, other than their front 4 there with Marcellus and J.J. Watt. So I don't feel good about it. But yeah, Tennessee, Indy, and I could flip tomorrow if I'm being honest.
All right. And also, by the way, when you said it could go any of 6 ways, 6 was a fair number if you assume 2 teams get in just because of combinations and math.
There we go.
But
thank you, engineer.
So don't second guess yourself, Zach.
There we go. What are your Colts thoughts?
Well, I'm gonna miss Andrew Luck.
Yep.
And I'm gonna miss his voice and his beard. But I think they're gonna do good with Phillip Rivers. I don't think they're gonna give Phillip Rivers a Super Bowl like he deserves. Something to cap off his Hall of Fame potential career, but I think they're going to do good with him. And I'm trying to look at something, but I can't find anything. Indiana, there it is. Chance to make the playoffs, 59.2%. And I think that's fair, based on, like you said, weak division. They're going to play Jacksonville twice. They're going to play Tennessee twice and Houston twice. So they're probably going to get, they'll probably split with Texas and then split or sweep Tennessee and then sweep Jacksonville. So I think the Colts are a good pick. I'm not going to knock you for that. I don't think they're going to win the division, but I think they've got good odds to make the playoffs. And last year they did beat the Chiefs. So, but I mean, the Browns beat the Ravens last year. So anything could happen when mediocre teams play the top 3, top 4 in the league. So we'll see what happens. I just don't think they're going to be Super Bowl contenders.
On to the AFC West, where Kansas City will be your number 1 seed in the AFC, and that's all we have to say about that.
Well, that's assuming that the Browns aren't the number 1 seed.
All right. Now we're going to temper the expectations. Come on, take it easy.
I tweeted something about the Browns having double-digit wins, and my friend said, yes, only to lose in the first round of the playoffs. And I said, they can't lose in the first round of the playoffs if they're the number 1 seed and they have a bye.
Boom. That is true. That is accurate. Yeah, I just do we need to make the case for the Chiefs that often? I feel like any casual fan listening to this understands the Chiefs and how good they are.
Yeah, I think there's a chance that they're the number 2 or the number 3 seed, but looking at the rest of the AFC, there's definitely no team that really jumps out as saying, "Hey, we're going to be better than the Chiefs." Like, the Ravens, they were good last year. They lost their first game in the playoffs, so maybe Lamar Jackson has a little bit of a choking syndrome. Maybe he doesn't, but there's no one that jumps out and says, I'm more of a contender than the Kansas City Chiefs.
For sure. We have a question about the Denver Broncos. Off a 4-1 finish, will Drew Lock have continued success, or did he just get lucky? What do you think?
Well, I mean, I definitely don't think he's going to have an 80% win rate the rest of this season, his career, whatever. But I don't think he just got lucky. Lamar Jackson, the year before last, had a good end to the season after the Ravens benched their starter and put him in on a limb. And he did good the following year. So I think Drew Lock is going to do good the following year. He's not going to go 4-1 every 5 weeks, but he's up and coming. I'd buy into that.
I think the Broncos have the widest range of outcomes for the season in the AFC. I could see them winning 5 games. I could see them winning 10. I honestly could. And I don't see that with too many teams. I think a lot of it does depend on Drew Lock. I like Drew Lock. Didn't watch too much of him in college in Missouri, but I did like his last 5 games, of course. He did play Los Angeles, the Chargers, Houston, Kansas City, Detroit, and Oakland. Not too many teams known for their pass defense, so that concerns me a little bit. But I do think year 2 in that system, I think he will do decently. I just don't know how decently. I think the safe bet would be a 7-9, 8-8 type year.
I'm reading here that they play the Chiefs twice, so that obviously makes their schedule difficult. But FPI projects the Broncos to play the league's 3rd toughest schedule, which doesn't fare well for Drew Lock. But no matter how rocky the path, some will forge to the front, and no matter how easy the going, some lag behind. So, Drew Lock, will you forge to the front, or will you lag behind?
Yeah, it'll be interesting. You mentioned Kansas City, but the rest of the division, too, doesn't look that great. Los Angeles Chargers, maybe by the time they play the Broncos, could be switched over to Justin Herbert. And now I'm going to eat my words if they play week 1. I should probably have checked that. And they don't, thankfully. Good job there, Zach. And then the Las Vegas Raiders are moving to Las Vegas. A couple times during my notes for the show, I wrote down Oakland. Had to fix that one. But Las Vegas is there now, and they don't get to enjoy the spoils of Las Vegas. I don't really have too much to say about these teams. These teams are both going to go 6-10, and we will move on when you are done speaking.
Well, I'm interested to see the Chargers starting with Tyrod Taylor, and having played for the Browns under Hugh Jackson, I feel bad for him. That gives him a little bit of a bad rep, but I don't think he's going to work out. I think he's probably not the starter that any NFL franchise is really looking for. But I wish them the best of luck. I feel bad that they never were able to deliver for Phillip Rivers. So if they can deliver for someone else, maybe that'll work for them. The Raiders, they said enough last year when they just screwed their team, and they're probably just going to keep screwing them. So they're not gonna do well.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, a lot of people have been writing about Derek Carr and John Gruden. My response to all of them is like, who really cares? I mean, it's just like, I just like Derek Carr was good like 3 years ago, but you know what I mean? Like, if we're having, like, that's something I expect to see at SportsCenter at like 12:30 p.m. that just like they're just running, they're trying to figure it out, like fill the time here with the Derek Carr segment. Like, I don't know, it just doesn't move the needle for me anymore. As an NFL fan.
Yeah. There's not much for Las Vegas that moves the needle.
All right, NFC. The NFC East reminds me of the AFC East because the Giants and almost slipped there. Got canceled. Got canceled. See, I only
demonetized.
This has never been monetized. I only write the geographic name, so I was going to slip. The Washington football team, caught myself.
Yeah.
And the Giants stink. The Eagles, I don't know if they stink. I don't think they do. I'm not sure.
They might stink.
They already have 2 bad injuries on their offensive line. And the Dallas Cowboys, who do not stink. What intrigues me about this division is that Dallas and Philadelphia have the same over-under number. And I think Dallas is at least a tier above Philadelphia. Do you agree?
Oh yeah, America's team, the Dallas Cowboys. Yeah, they're gonna do better than Philadelphia. That's odd odds to put them at the same over under.
I've seen a lot of hype for Carson Wentz's MVP. I think now, of course, that was before the 2 offensive linemen, Andre Dillard and another player that I'm not. Brandon Brooks. There we go. Memory saved me.
Yeah.
Are out. So, but I don't see it. I don't. I like Carson. Like, don't get me wrong. I think I'm more of a Carson defender in terms of his play, despite the injuries. I don't see the MVP push this year.
No, I feel like you gotta be in a system to have an MVP push, and don't look at Lamar Jackson. That one doesn't count. He's a freak of nature, but you gotta play in the system for a season or two, and when you get injured and you have someone else that's leading the team in the playoffs or the end of the season or whatever, that's not how you rev up for an MVP caliber season. And when you don't have an off season or you don't have preseason and training camps and whatever, I would not buy into the Carson Wentz MVP train.
Yeah, for sure. And then the Cowboys, so I assume we're both on the Cowboys for the division then.
Yes.
Their offense could be historic. I mean, the top 3 wide receivers they have now with, of course, for goodness gracious, I have this slip of the tongue here. CeeDee Lamb joining, there we go, from the NFL draft. We have Michael Gallup and then Amari Cooper. That was the name I was slipping my tongue. I apologize, fans. I had a mini seizure there.
Yeah, they might almost be as good as the Browns offensively.
All right, now we're becoming a problem, JJ. We gotta dose you down here with anti-Brown. We gotta dose it down. No, like a chemical shower. Yeah, sure. With Zeke in the background, Zeke in the backfield, and Dak as quarterback. Yeah.
I'm not sure if you recall when the Browns have Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt in the backfield.
It's true. Nick Chubb, very good.
But yeah, they're going to have a good offense. They've got a lot of weapons. And when they were giddy to pick CeeDee Lamb later in the draft than everyone expected him to go, I don't blame them for being so happy about it, because I would have taken him too. Myself and the announcers watching the draft we're all thinking the same thing.
Yeah. I think Michael Gallup could be a breakout player as well. Think about that question earlier posed. Michael Gallup could be a good one. Wide receiver 2 on the team, but I mean, if Cooper is taking the best cornerback each game.
Right. Oh yeah, it's like Jarvis Landry last year. Odell was getting all the coverage, so Jarvis Landry had a great season. I don't think that's a bad pick.
Do we care to talk about Giants or Washington?
The Giants ought to go on keeping up with the Washington football team ought to go on keeping up with the Washington football team with the dramas and the scandals and cutting people, and they're not going to have a good season.
Nope.
I feel bad for Dwayne Haskins as he's trying to put some sort of career together, and management is just like, nah, not today.
Yeah, Dan Snyder reinforces he's the worst owner in probably all 4 sports at this point.
Do you think he's going to leave? He's going to get kicked out?
I don't know if he'll get kicked out, but I mean, I think the smart thing would be to sell soon. But I don't know. Those guys are very stubborn at the top there. I don't know, where did he get his money from? That's going to be the question. But I
might find out if there's a big scandal.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess the Giants, they still have Saquads, so he'll probably have a good season no matter what. He's an impressive running back. Daniel Jones, I'm not buying into him, but he might have a good season. Hope he does. That's all they got going for him, though, right?
Yes. No, I agree. Let's see. Real estate, maybe? Advertising? Yeah. Wow. It's almost like advertising's kind of like a fake thing to get into, I feel like. I don't know. Just disparage the whole industry.
Yeah.
I apologize, advertising industry.
He's expensive. He's got a high net worth, so
yes, he
do
does.
You whatever you got to do, I guess.
All right, we're gonna move on to the messiest division. AFC South's the worst division. This is the messiest. The NFC North.
Okay.
I think. I could see either one of these teams winning the division title. Actually, like there's a plausible path that I would go like, yeah, I mean, I could see it for each of these teams to win.
Yeah.
Which team do you want to start with?
Which one? We'll start with your Lions.
Oh man. Okay. So a lot of smarter people than me. I know I'm using this again, but I just want to bring up the fact that where the takes are right now in the verse, so we're not just spitting them back out to you. The takes right now among the ESPN verse are that the Lions could be a sleeper team to win the NFC North. Now, I get it because I think Matt Stafford was a lot better than people say, and when he was out last year, we went 0-8. You know, we signed Jamie Collins with the linebacker core. We have Trey Flowers on the end. You know, we have pieces. Kenny Galladay. I don't know if he's broken out, if he's over the breakout thing, but if not, then he's right there as well. And apparently Hawkinson, our tight end that we picked in the first round last year for some reason, looks great. Awesome. I love it all. But Matt Patricia's still the coach. And Matt Patricia, I might have said this already last year, he wears a number 2 pencil on his ear for a laminated play sheet. I saw it in the first game he ever coached for us, and I can't get it out of my head. I never will, because the Lions have just been awful. So I don't think I can properly evaluate the Lions' chances at this division. So once again, wide open division, so even the Lions could win it. What is your take on the current status of the Detroit Lions?
My current take is they're a team in Michigan, so they're just about as cursed as the teams in Cleveland.
Yep.
You think they're going to do good, you think they have some pieces, and then they don't. So there's not much you can do about that when you have hope every single year, and there's a hype train every single year, and they just don't do anything. I think their defense has some room to improve, and if their defense gets better this year, then I think obviously the whole team would get better this year, and they could win 8, 9, 10 games. But I guess they, like a lot of teams, if they play up to their potential, they're going to do well. But and they're one of those teams that they don't have all the big names and the stars that the Chiefs and the Bucs do, but if they play as a team, you know, football, the world's best team sport, they'll do all right.
Yeah. The out of any of the teams, you know, obviously, growing up in the youth, Detroit, the Red Wings won a couple titles and such, and the Pistons as well won one. But I was not old enough to remember, so now I'm kind of in pain, you know, that you had solved when the Cavs won in 2016. And I think similar to your Browns, if the Lions won the Super Bowl, like, I don't know what I would do. Like, I would, first of all, I wouldn't believe it until it literally happened, until whoever the captain is in 2055 is holding the trophy with a Super Bowl 80. but like I can't even fathom it. Like I can't even talk about it. So I have no. Every time someone says Lions can be decent, I'm like, nope. Every time they're winning a game, I'm like, I'm just waiting. I'm waiting for something bad to happen. And I feel bad for Stafford at all because he is so talented, and it's just the years of mismanagement have sunk the team so many times. And once again, with like I said, I think I said earlier to my roommate, I'm like, we have a coach that's not even fit to coach a high school team right now. So that's where we're at there. Who do you want? What'd you say?
I said, damn.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, who's next?
Well, who's next in terms of who's going to win the division, or who are we going to talk about next?
Actually, wait, I'll do a tease, and you can see if you can predict who I'm talking about. All right. So this team had a turbulent offseason. I've been looking
Chicago.
I've been looking and trying to figure out, because I feel like they were high likelihood they go 11-5, and a pretty high likelihood they go 5-11. And I did it just before the show. I decided, and I think the Packers are going to go like 6-10. Might be my hottest take.
That is a hot take.
I don't like it. I don't like what's out of Green Bay.
I mean, I understand your discontent with Green Bay. 6-10 though,
or 7-9, whatever. They're not going to make the playoffs. They won't be close.
Yeah. I don't know about that.
Can I present the case?
Sure.
Aaron
podcast.
Aaron Rodgers is moody. The Jordan Love thing does not sit well with him. All right, Aaron Rodgers is probably the moodiest quarterback we have. Am I correct on that?
Yes.
Okay. Not very, and he's been on record not very happy about the Jordan Love thing. Okay, so already pissed off. The running back, Aaron Jones, all right, had a fantastic year this year. They just drafted A.J. Dillon behind him. We talked about that in April. He's going to be pretty upset. It's not going to be right. Their number one wide receiver, Devontae Adams. Great wide receiver. Awesome. Their number two, Marquez Valdes-Scantling. Who, you ask? Exactly. Don't even get me started on who number three is. The tight end, I can't even read his name. Jack Stenberger, maybe. I know I'm slightly belittling NFL players here, and obviously they could beat me up and are much more athletic and make a lot more money than I do. But I'm just bringing that up the point. They signed the Browns linebacker, former Browns linebacker, Christian Kirksey, to man their linebacker unit. Great. He doesn't stay healthy very often, does he, JJ?
No.
Their secondary is pretty decent. I'll give them that. The Smith pass rush, Zadarius Smith and Preston Smith, was pretty good last year. I'll give them that as well. Offensive line seems to be an issue. They signed Ricky Wagner. They signed Billy Turner. Or promoted Billy Turner. I'm not sure which one. But just doesn't feel good. I think a lot of people, first of all, yeah, they made the NFC Championship game last year. They went 13-3. I never felt good about Green Bay, and them getting steamrolled by San Francisco seemed correct. And I think this year it just kind of unravels for them. So, that's what I think. That's my case. Do you have the counter case? Because there definitely is a counter case. But what do you think of my case?
Well, I think your case is reasonable. And when you've got NFL players and coaches and emotions and moodiness, sometimes that can cause a locker room to become unstable. A bad locker room leads to a bad performance on the field. But my take in drafting backups or future starters is as follows. Competition breeds excellence. So I think you get Aaron Rodgers pissed off that the Packers want to figure someone out to replace him in the coming years, then Aaron Rodgers is going to elevate his level of play. He's elite. He's going to stay elite. Similar take with Aaron Jones. They're going to compete harder because their spot isn't a given for them anymore. And yeah, wide receivers, reasonable to be concerned about who Aaron Rodgers is going to throw to, but I feel like for most teams, when you've got adequate wide receivers and an adequate line, you can do something. if the offensive line is subpar, that's when you come into issues. Like anyone can throw routes. Not everyone can run routes like Odell Beckham Jr., but anyone can run the routes. And I don't think they're going to be 13-3, but I think they'll have at least a 500 season, probably a winning season.
Do you have them in the postseason?
I'll pick them. I do. I was going to say, I think I have them as the first wild card.
Wow. Okay. Is Rodgers still elite? Are we just giving him that title? Did he earn it?
Well, I think he's earned it. And once you're elite, you're always elite. You're just on the downhill.
Okay.
If you're past your prime. So maybe Aaron Rodgers wouldn't be classified as elite right now, but when you're a veteran, when you've got that history, kind of like Ben Roethlisberger, you can pull it out of your ass at any given time, any given day.
That's fair, because I don't know if I have him in my top 8 in terms of quarterbacks for the upcoming year. Just in my head, a number.
Yeah,
if you want me to run them off, I can try here. But that would be.
Well, no,
number.
I believe you. As like if you just assess current play, that's fair. But
okay,
overall, quarterbacks in the league right now and their careers, he's elite.
Fair enough. And so you said they'll be the first wild card, and I assume you're a smart man. You're taking Minnesota to win the division.
Well, no, I'm a Browns fan. I'm picking the Lions.
Are you really? No way.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Okay. All right. I am taking Minnesota as a Lions fan because I'm used to disappointment. They just feel like the most stable team in this division. The one with they're going to win in between 8 and 10 or 10 games. And that is something that range of outcomes is so narrow compared to a lot of other teams in this division. That's why I'm taking Minnesota. And then Kirk Cousins will lose in the first round of the playoffs. We have to have the Kirk Cousins is he good conversation, which, spoiler alert, he's okay. But that okay will do good enough with especially their defense they have in Minnesota.
Yes.
Okay, and I have 1 cent about Chicago. If you have more, that's acceptable. But Chicago picked Mitch Trubisky as their Week 1 quarterback. And they play the Lions Week 1, and I'm elated. And that's all you need to know about Chicago's season.
Yeah, not hot on Chicago. Having competition at quarterback is different than having like a quarterback controversy. So you don't love to have to announce who the starting quarterback is going to be. Aaron Rodgers, everyone expected him to be the starting quarterback, and he didn't look like shit in training camp, so he was the starting quarterback. But when you have to actively choose between two people, your season isn't going to be great, I think.
Yep. And I will say their number I found yesterday was 8.5 over under. I get that's the strength of their defense, but I would pound the under on that one. That one I do not see a scenario where Chicago is above 500. That's where they have to be to beat that bet. All right, NFC South.
Yes.
2 teams that a lot of people are projecting to go to the Super Bowl.
Saints and the Bucs.
I feel like I picked the Saints to go to the Super Bowl for the last couple of years, and I'm not sure what I'm doing right now. We'll give picks later, so I want to tease it a bit. I think the Saints are just going to win this division. I mean, they're the team that has the most continuity from last year. They picked up Emmanuel Sanders somehow to run their number 2 spot there. Re-signed Taysom Hill, Drew Brees, Michael Thomas, Alvin Kamara, Cameron Hayward. I mean, do I have to? Not Cameron Hayward. Sorry, Cameron Jordan. I don't have to run through all of them, do I? Marcus Lattimore. Yeah, they have the. If you look at their roster, they have the most loaded roster. Of course, that hasn't translated to postseason wins recently, but in terms of the division, I think it's pretty. I don't think I have to. A lot of people are picking the Bucs, but I don't think I have to make the case too hard for the Saints to beat the Bucs in the division. Do I?
Oh no, I'm picking the Saints too, and I have the Bucs going to the playoffs, of course.
Agreed.
But the Saints have it, and they have had it. So that's the difference between the Bucs, who have had Jameis Winston for the past couple years, and not a very good team overall. And like I was saying earlier with the Browns, the hype comes a year or two earlier. The whatever. Tom Brady's still Tom Brady, so he's still going to perform. He's still going to do well, but there's no way that they can live up to the hype that has been set forth for them by the fandom and the NFL as a whole.
Yeah, I agree. So, I think the Bucs are interesting, and obviously they have pieces for the offense to be awesome, but I think it's going to take a little bit of meshing time, and there's always the possibility that maybe this is Brady's year to where it goes wrong.
Oh, yeah. He's getting old, and now that you don't have Bill Belichick as a crutch, then it's where it could start to go downhill. I don't think that Bill Belichick or Tom Brady will win another Super Bowl. Maybe a hot take, but
yeah, no, I see it.
I mean, I wish the best of luck for everyone, right? But I don't think they will.
You're nicer than I am. The Falcons, 8-8. Moving on. That's just what this team screams to me when I look at the roster. Matt Ryan is capable enough to get you out of a couple wins here. You have Todd Gurley, which who knows what his knees are anymore. Julio Jones, once again, that offense is going to win you a couple games. It just seems like their defense gets punished by injuries every year.
Mm-hmm.
They could be sniffing around the wild card. That, especially because, to me, I think I have 6 solid teams in the playoffs here. Like, very solid, and we'll run through it. We haven't hit a couple of them yet. That 7th spot for me in the NFC is wide open. So I could definitely see them in the mix there. I'm not picking them to go to, but I guess I could say if they're sneaking around, 7-5 midway through the season, or 3 quarters through the season, that wouldn't shock me, I guess, to give them more credit than just dismissing the Falcons.
Yeah, I mean, now that we have 7 teams in each playoff, and we have a much better chance at a team with a losing record making the playoffs. So you never know.
Yeah, I'm with you there. And sorry, I was looking up who asked the question, and it was, I believe, Joe Graw. The answer to the question about who will have the number 1 draft pick is the Carolina Panthers. Not necessarily because of their team, because I think they have much more talent than the Jacksonville Jaguars. I would take Bridgewater over Minshew, and I would also take Christian McCaffrey over whoever Jacksonville has after cutting Fournette. But the fact of the matter is they're the worst team in this division by far, and that's 6 games, and that's going to be really tough to make up. So I think Carolina will get the first overall pick, and I don't know what they do with it. They could trade out of it if they like Teddy this year, because once again, I don't think it'll be for their lack of play. I just think they're going to lose a lot of games to New Orleans, Tampa Bay, and, of course, to Atlanta.
I wouldn't say it's bad. I think maybe they get the number 2 overall pick. I've got the Washington football team with the number 1 overall pick. They're just, when your management's bad and your team isn't very good, it's a disaster. It's a recipe for poor team. Browns have seen that for a while now, so I'm going with the Washington football team, number 1 overall pick.
That's a fair shot. Fair shot for sure, especially with the questions about Haskins' ability still in the second year of his tenure. NFC West. San Fran?
Last division.
Yes, 100%. 100%. So we got San Fran 10.5 wins, Seattle 9.5, Rams 8.5, Cardinals 7.5. I think
I'm in a predicament because I've filled up all my playoff spots and I don't have either all of them except for the NFC West, and I don't have the 49ers or the Seahawks in there.
Got to revise here. Got to have a revision.
Yeah, maybe I need to take the Vikings out.
Okay, well, we could get to your revision as you do your math over there. I'll start at the bottom then. I'll help you out. Arizona. A lot of hype around Arizona. A lot of hype around Kyler Murray. You mentioned the Bucs as your corollary to the Browns. I get Browns vibes with this Arizona Cardinals team. I think eventually they'll be good in a couple years. I think Kyler Murray's a great talent. I understand the DeAndre Hopkins trade. I get super excited. It feels Browns-ish to me, and I wouldn't be surprised if they went 6-10. Everyone's like, what the heck happened? It's like, well, they had to play Seattle, the Rams, and the 49ers twice a year.
I do see the Browns there with the quarterback that's shown potential, but might have an off year. Huge wide receiver trade. I definitely see the Browns comparison there, but and also with the probably going to have an underwhelming year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Rams, 8.5 wins is their number. I don't know what to do with them. I could see how last year was a bit of a fluke. I still think they have a lot of talent. If you assume their offensive line will bounce back, then yeah, maybe they can get back to the playoffs and make a lot of damage in those playoffs with Sean McVay. But like Jared Goff's still the quarterback. I like Cam Akers, the replacement for Todd Gurley. But I just don't know what to do with the Rams. I put them third behind San Francisco and Seattle because I feel like they're so unsure. But they could win the division, and it wouldn't shock me as much as other outcomes we've discussed on this podcast.
Yeah, I agree. So I think we might have the same division ranking here, then with LA at third, and difficult to bet against Russell Westbrook and 49ers in general after what they did last year.
Yeah, for sure. Did you say Russell Westbrook?
So it's not Russell Westbrook and then the other team. Difficult to bet against Russell Westbrook and the Seattle Seahawks, and difficult to bet against the 49ers. Not Jimmy G.
Are you mistaking Russell Westbrook for Russell Wilson on purpose?
No, that was not on purpose.
Do you want me to cut that out? I can cut that
out. Well, I mean, it's Russell W. So it happens.
It's very close. It's all right. This is going to be the longest podcast ever for the assists, so it's all right. It's all right. We're getting a little tired here.
I don't think the casual fan would have realized that unless you had pointed it out.
I'm sorry. I don't like Russell Westbrook, so whenever I hear his name, like it triggers me. Like today, my friend was telling me the case for the Rockets being the Lakers, and I was like, yeah, but Russell Westbrook still plays for the Rockets, therefore they will not win. So yes, no, I agree with you being behind Russell Wilson, and I think Russell Wilson will carry Seattle to a playoff position, even though a lot of people are projecting regression for a Seattle team that made the semifinals, correct? They lost to, I forgot who they lost to last year, but they did lose.
Yes, they did lose. They did not win the Super Bowl. That is correct.
Boom. Expert analysis there, 70 minutes in. So are you taking San Francisco for the division then?
Yes.
Yeah. Sweet. Just seems more stable that way for San Francisco. I mean, I don't necessarily love Jimmy G, but I mean, proof of concept last year, they came within a couple plays winning the Super Bowl. So, I mean, he's a good example of can you win the Super Bowl with his quarterback? They literally almost did. So, obviously expressed more ability than I would have ever thought.
It sounds kind of like Colin Kaepernick when the 49ers almost won the Super Bowl with him.
It's true. It's very true. Jimmy G doesn't overthrow that one throw. The San Francisco wins the Super Bowl. So there we go. Okay. Mm-hmm. Do we want to do MVP pick or playoff rundown first?
Let's do playoff rundown first.
All right. In the AFC, Kansas City is your number 1. Baltimore is your number 2. The Bills is your number 3. Tennessee, number 4, is your division winners. 5, I have Indianapolis because, once again, the schedule is going to suck, so I think they're going to rack up easy wins. 6, I have the Patriots. And 7, I have your Cleveland Browns with the Steelers just missing out on the postseason.
Ha, screw the Steelers.
That's right. You want to go AFC?
Yeah, sure. I guess I'm trying to figure out who I think my third wild card is going to be behind the Ravens and the Steelers. Maybe the Broncos. Maybe Drew Lock will figure it out. But so I guess we have first overall Chiefs, second overall Browns, of course. Third overall Patriots, fourth overall Texans, and then I think that the top 2 seeds for the wild card will be from the AFC North with the Ravens and the Steelers. And then rounding out the weak East, NBA reference, the weak AFC is the Broncos.
Yeah, the AFC is definitely the weaker conference here. So that is a good comparison there. That is a grade A sports analogy. We have very different top sevens there. That's interesting. NFC. I have New Orleans number 1. 2 49ers. 3 Cowboys. 4 Minnesota. 5 Seattle. 6 Tampa Bay. And 7 Philadelphia.
All right. I'm going to switch your 1 and 2. I've got 49ers, top seed again. Saints, number 2 seed. Cowboys, number 3 seed. Lions, number 4 seed. I know. I also have the Browns at the number 2 seed. So, it makes sense when you think about it, who's given these. And then wild cards, we've got Packers, then Bucs, then Seahawks.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. No, yeah, definitely the Packers one's the big disagreement there. And the Lions, obviously. I just can't be in on the Lions. I can't.
That's okay. You don't want to have your heart broken. I understand.
Super Bowl pick, I have New Orleans over Baltimore.
New Orleans again for you.
They have to win one of these years, right? Like,
yeah, they do. I definitely don't think Baltimore is going to the Super Bowl. I think we will pick the Chiefs to go back to back. This time beating, I don't know, maybe we'll America's team, the Cowboys. Wow. Cowboys are going to return to the Super Bowl this year. But not win.
There we go. All right. MVP, then we can get out of here. Do you have an MVP pick off the top of your head? Because I want to systematically go through mine here.
Off the top of my head, I think that, like we mentioned, Lamar Jackson is going to regress. And I think Patrick Mahomes will stay top of his game and return to the Super Bowl. You're going to need an MVP caliber quarterback. That's my pick, Patrick Mahomes.
All right, so I feel like it's a little basic, but it's probably the most likely, so that's fair to you. I'm going to try to pick outside of Patrick Mahomes, knowing, though, that he is a heavy favorite. So, to me, the MVP is to win the division, correct? So,
yes.
We're going to take out Russell Wilson there, and then Tom Brady. It just sucks. Sorry, guys. And Carson Wentz as well, for my list here, and Cam Newton as well.
Yep.
All right. So now, it's usually a quarterback, right?
Yeah.
So we have...
It's going to be a quarterback.
For my list, we have Pat Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Ryan Tannehill, Drew Brees, Jimmy Garoppolo, Dak Prescott, and Kirk Cousins. So we are going to throw out Cousins, Tannehill, Allen, and Garoppolo. Just not going to happen, guys. All right, so we're left with Brees, Dak, Lamar, Mahomes. I already said I'm not picking Mahomes just because I want to be different, so take out Mahomes. Lamar's going to regress, not going to be back-to-back. We're going to take him out.
Yep.
And just remember, JJ, the MVP is a narrative-driven event. What better narrative would there be than after the contract situation between Dallas and Dak Prescott? Would it be for Dak Prescott to raise his middle finger at Jerry Jones and go out and win MVP and then walk away for free? He would then be signed to a long-term extension. However, we'll just say Dak Prescott wins the MVP. Why not? Why not?
Yeah, why not? It's a good reason for anything.
It's gonna have a crazy year with that behind that offense. Okay, what other takes do you have? Do we have anything else? We are at, I believe, the 75-minute counter here, so we are rolling along here.
Yeah, I don't think I have too many more hot takes. I'm sponged out.
There we go. I mean, you picked the Lions to win the division, and the number 2 seed is the Browns. So I think you are out of them. I think you need some sleep after that. JJ, this was a lot of fun. We need to make this a yearly tradition. And yeah, send us your reactions. Let us know how we did, or how we will do. We'll revisit this middle of the year, October. We'll revisit this, see what we did. We'll re-listen.
Re-listen, look at our picks, and say, well, it doesn't look like the Lions are going to win their division.
Nope.
The Browns are on a 4-game losing streak. Okay.
That's probably how it'll go. But there we go. All right. Adios, my good friend.
Adios. Comment on all the Instagram posts and get all the algorithms going for Zach and his podcast. Love being a guest.
Love the hype. Thank you, man.